I'm Lisa K. Donner, along with Jeff Charles, Sarah Cowgill, Tim Donner, and Scott Cosenza. And this is the Conservative 5, Liberty Nation's online TV news program. On today's episode, what a fool believes. Trump 2024 fact or fiction. We're going to try to read the smoke signals. Will he or won't he run? Just for fun, we're going to try to run a special segment for you called Political Practical Pranks, April Fools or not. Are these headlines really for real? Test your skills along with our panel. The Chauvin trial, parade, charade, or justice? Our own legal affairs experts weigh in with facts and analysis. And in the member zone today, the race blame game, longest overtime ever. Are we stuck in the past when it comes to race? Or have we made great strides exclusively for our member zone subscribers? All this and more coming up on the Conservative 5. There's really no bigger hook in show business than a cliffhanging mystery. It seems the greatest showman on earth since P.T. Barnum, that is, has us holding our breath. Donald J. Trump, will he run again? Or will he launch a media empire? Perhaps both. Well, it seems Mr. Trump's MO these days is tried and true, quote, keep wanting more, end quote. Holed up in his Mar-a-Lago home is 45, starting to emerge from his cage. Our panel takes a moment to wonder whether he's serious or just lounging around eating quarter pounders and bananas Foster. All of us at Liberty Nation have pondered the Republican Party with and without Donald Trump. For sure, the GOP has been shifting, some say grifting, off the Trump name. Now, there's quite a bit of chatter as to whether he's seriously considering a 2024 run. And Sarah, you've consistently stated that Trump will not be part of the Republican Party. Has that changed at all over the last couple of months, in your opinion?
Not in my opinion. I think he might endorse, he might back, he might financially support Republicans, but they have to be his kind of Republicans. He's not going to support the party as a whole. He's not going to give them money. He's not going to stump for every single person on the Republican roster. And I just don't see him. I don't see him running as a Republican candidate either. I think he's just going to sit back and be a kingmaker.
Really? Okay. So you think this is just all chatter. Jeff, what about you?
Yeah, I think I agree really with Sarah, but I do think he'll be part of the Republican Party in that he will be a kingmaker, not necessarily a candidate. Now, he hasn't said whether or not he's going to run in 2024 or not, but I do see that he's working behind the scenes and out front, and he is going to be very much a powerhouse on the right. Even if he does run again, I think he'll still have an R next to his name, but I think it's important to delineate between the establishment and the non-establishment. When he ran as a Republican the first time, he wasn't really a Republican. He was his own force. So Trump is going to have a huge mark on the party going forward. It's just a matter of how that takes shape. And we're starting to see kind of what he's planning to do. But it's interesting. He's not being as out there with it as we would normally expect him to be. So it'll be interesting to see what happens.
Tim, you think he's being cagey?
Well, I think Trump actually has something quite in common with other former presidents, and that is that he's mostly concerned about his legacy. He wants to figure out how he's going to go down in the history books, and he has a unique opportunity to make more of a difference outside the White House than any president that we can remember. Because most presidents, when they leave the White House, and I'm talking about Reagan, Bush 41, Clinton, Bush 43, Obama, they didn't do too much when they left the White House, even though in the case of Clinton and Bush and Obama, they were quite young because they had spent their load when they were in the White House. But Trump hasn't. Trump has a post-White House legacy to build, and he has a choice of things to do, and he's got a base of supporters that is so loyal to him that he can sort of pick his spot. Yeah, he's going to be a kingmaker. He's not going to run again. I think it's only a matter of how much impact he has. And by the way, how much impact his new social media platform will have, because he's planning apparently on launching it this summer, now that he's been banned from basically every social media site. So that's going to be a sensation by itself.
I'm sort of shocked that everybody on the panel so far thinks he's not going to run. Scott?
Not everybody on the panel thinks that, Lisa. I think that Donald Trump himself doesn't know if he's going to run until the day before that first financial disclosure is due. He can keep it as a coy, maybe yes, maybe no, and ride the mountain of free publicity he's going to get, whether that free publicity accrues to the benefit of this new social media platform or just mentions of Donald Trump in the press, which we know Donald Trump likes. So I don't think he'll do anything until sort of like the very end. And then I don't even think he really knows whether he would do it again or not at this point.
I do think he is brilliant at manipulating the press, and he's wise to do it. So kind of leaving things up in the air is not bad for him, really, in the long run.
Yeah, I agree. That's why when he spoke at CPAC, I was glad that he didn't say one way or the other. I don't want him to say one way or the other because I do want the press wondering what he's going to do. And, the press misses him. I don't care what they say. Their ratings have gone down since he's been out of the Oval Office. But I think when he starts getting more public, when he starts going more public and talking about the Republican Party, when he starts bashing Biden again, they're going to almost have their president back, but it'll never be like it was when he was in office. But I do agree that he will wield a lot more influence outside of the White House.
I been keeping a pulse on some of the social media feeds. And the thing is, every time there is a biased media outlet with a headline that they think is spanking the Trumpster, it's actually ticking off everybody in his base, and his base is growing. I mean, those are the most shared and discussed headlines. Facebook will not have the interview with Laura Trump and blah 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 blah, and holy moly, it stirs up the hornet's nest. And our regular media that we have grown up with and have uncovered all of their faults and foibles, they're dying to put things like that out and get those hits, because they're not getting hits on anything else. They're not getting hits on Biden. They're not getting hits on Kamala. They're not getting hits. They're getting hits on Trump.
Well, Tim, let me just say one thing. You have made a point of saying, and I think you're right, that above all, Trump believes that he's a winner and he wants to win. So I think if he sees any opening, where he can win, which is why he ran in 2016. He felt that he could beat Hillary Clinton, or that was the best chance he was going to have, and he did. But, he's a man of action. Sitting idle behind the walls of Mar-a-Lago, I think, is pretty unthinkable. If he thinks he can win, I think he's all in.
Especially when he's been silenced by all these outlets. It'd be one thing if he could sit behind in Mar-a-Lago and tweet impactfully and be that kingmaker. But they've shut down. It's like whack-a-mole. They whacked all the moles. The one thing he can spring up to do is actually run for president.
Well, and they're afraid of him because Facebook, they don't let him on there, but they banned his voice. So if you post a video on Facebook where Trump is speaking, they ban that. So that shows how afraid they are. So maybe they're seeing something that a lot of people don't see, that maybe there is an opening for him to run again, or at the very least cause hell for them by influencing the Republican Party in a way that they don't like.
This panel, this discussion is evidence of something that I think almost everybody can agree on, whether they hate Trump or love him, and that is he always wants to keep people off balance. He doesn't want people to know exactly what he's going to do next. He doesn't want to disclose. I mean, you saw during his presidency, he would come out with outrageous statements. And I think it was designed mostly so that people would never know what to expect from him next. That's how he conducted his presidency, and I would suspect that's how he's going to conduct his post-presidency. He could focus on his new media platform. He could run for president again. He could start a third party. He's ruled it out, but who knows? He could become very active in Republican politics, or it could become, not that active and just throw a few stink bombs from the outside at rhinos. So I think one thing always to keep in mind about Donald Trump is that he'll always keep you off balance.
What were you going to say, Sarah?
I'm just going to say, I don't think you will see that man in the race in 2024 unless there's always that one unless. And the unless is if the Republican Party just gets down on its knees and begs.
Well, I think it's obvious both Republicans and Democrats, the establishment ones, are nervous about Trump's next steps. You know, he could effectively derail both political parties in one fell swoop, or not. And the mystery of the unknown is beginning to drive them and the chattering class, I think, damn near crazy. One thing for sure, Trump always makes for a fun and interesting ride. Thanks, panel. Another April Fool's Day has come and gone, but some of us who observe swamp shenanigans are pondering one question. Was that a real headline or a fake one? The panel took a swing at gathering headlines that will make you wonder. Put on your thinking caps, folks, because now you get to decide if the headlines are real or phony. This should make for some interesting political fun. To start this political game of true or false, I'm going to call on my better half, Tim Donner, to get things rolling. What goodies do you have for us, Tim?
Well, my first one is partly in tribute to my good friend Scott Cosenza, who's on the panel, and I thought he would be particularly interested in this first headline and trying to figure out, him or any of you, whether it's real or not. Here's the headline. Man accused of killing lawyer receives a new attorney. Man accused of killing lawyer receives a new attorney. I wonder what he would have.
What? Give us the fake one now, or this other one.
Well, wait a minute. Wait a minute. How do you know whether that's fake
Well,
or not?
I don't.
Because here's the second one. Here's the second one. Trump's grandfather was a pimp and tax evader. His father was a member of the KKK.
Okay.
Any guesses?
Scott, I'm going to let you go first since he named you specifically.
Well, sadly, the first one I'm sure is the genuine article. Just reads too true.
Which one?
The lawyer, the person who has attempted to kill their lawyer and yet received a new lawyer in response.
Oh, the lawyer? You know, I'm just going to say I disagree with you. I think the KKK one is the real one because they're so crazy. What do you guys think?
I think it's the lawyer one because it's such a bungled headline. I mean, man who kills his lawyer gets another lawyer. I mean,
you people are all missing it. You're missing it because the second story explains all the peculiarities of Donald Trump. He likes women so much. He's evaded his taxes forever, loves making money, and he's a racist. So the grandfather connection explains everything. The grandfather was a pimp and a tax evader, and his father was a member of the KKK.
You could lead us down the primrose
Jim,
path.
you're trying too hard. You're trying too hard.
Yeah,
You
Jeff.
know what?
Jeff.
But here's the thing. I wouldn't put it past the activist media to lie and print a headline like that. However, I'm still going to go with the first one with the lawyer being killed because, no offense to Scott, who doesn't want to kill a lawyer every now and then?
Oh, okay. All
Sorry,
right.
it's my fault for starting an open season on attorneys.
All right.
My bad.
Nobody likes
I'm not
lawyer jokes
inciting
better.
violence.
Nobody likes lawyer jokes better than lawyers anyway.
That's
They pass
true.
them around. So
Okay, we're going to go for the answer now, or are we going to wait till the end?
I say now. Let's do it now.
All right, Tim, which one is the real one?
Well, the first one is real. Which,
Oh,
as
the first
Jeff
one
said,
is
that's an
real.
easy one. I mean, who hasn't wanted to shoot an attorney? I mean, so this is just a guy who actually didn't stop himself from doing what so many people have wanted to do over the years. It's an easy one. I started with an easy one to get people up to speed.
All right.
Oh, okay.
By the way,
Okay.
the second one was actually fake, just for the record.
Okay, Sarah girl, go.
Okay, here we go, panel. Democrats claim SpongeBob wears no pants, wants to ban cartoon.
Hey, all right.
Second one. Gorilla Glue Girl confirms she is pregnant with sixth child. Sixth child. Sorry, I bungled that one.
Oh, Lord, I
Gorilla.
hope that's fake.
Can we hear that one again? Gorilla.
Gorilla Glue Girl confirms she is pregnant with sixth child.
Okay.
Well,
what-
I hate to say it, but they've got to both be true in 2021.
Yeah, eventually the second one will be true, but I'm going to go with the first one.
Why?
Because
Wow, really? That's
Jeff
great.
has really thought this one through.
Later in the hour.
Deep thoughts. Deep thoughts. Okay, Scott, what do you say?
You know, I keep having visions of that Gorilla Glue Girl in my head and thinking about her raising 6 children and what their kind of like education regarding household chemicals must be for this person who applied a very strong glue to her hair and then complained about it to the world. I just can't quite get past that in my head. Yeah, I just don't get it. I think that the SpongeBob story is false only because it didn't list some offense regarding gender or trans status or race for the objection. So that seems like a fake story to me.
By the way, not that there's anything wrong with Gorilla Glue.
It works.
It works really well.
Absolutely. All right,
I
Tim,
love
what
the
do you
stuff.
say?
I have shelves of it at home.
I guess I'm going to say the first one is real and the second is fake. What the heck? Threw a dart, that's what I came up with.
I'm saying the Gorilla Glue one is real. That just sounds real to me because people are getting so crazy these days. Sarah, are you going to tell us? Does anybody hear the Jeopardy thing here?
Frank will.
Oh no, it's Gorilla Glue Girl.
yes.
Yay! Okay.
So the reason why I didn't say why I thought it was is because I already saw that story, so I already knew, and I didn't want to.
Oh, well, aren't you just smart?
Like I said, I
Keep
thought
it to yourself, Jeff. Keep it to yourself.
Yeah, like I said, I thought the second one was real.
But we still mercilessly pounded you, which, fair enough. All right, Jeff, go next.
All right, here we go. Headline number 1. UC Berkeley student group demands resignation of all white professors to make room for Black and Latinx educators.
Wow, that was a long headline.
I know, right? Second, 4 ways to be gender inclusive when discussing abortion.
Those are the best. Those are the best articles, by the way, when they tell you about how to be gender inclusive, like with something where
I love it.
where they don't even have the requisite plumbing to actually have the condition
Here's a
occur
good
to them.
subject for you.
That's the funniest
But
thing.
Scott,
That's the next
instructions
card
are included.
Right.
Wow. The only thing I'll say is that first one seems almost too long to be real. Just on the.
I just don't see that as a headline. I feel like that happened like 10 years ago.
The only thing that tells me the first one is fake is because it's all white professors.
Oh, no, actually, it's a trick question. I just figured it out. There's nobody white left at Berkeley. Come on.
There you go. There you go. Trick
You're
question.
not allowed to have white
man.
professors there.
Come on,
What are
Jeff.
you, crazy?
Sarah, you going to weigh in?
I literally have no idea, so I'm just gonna not vote. I'm just gonna sit back and see who's foolish and who isn't.
All right, I'm gonna pick number 2 just because I write a lot of titles and a lot of headlines, and I just don't see anybody going that long on the first one. Plus, you're right, Tim. The fact that it was so all the word all in there. Yeah.
Right. It was so inclusive.
Yeah. All right. So I picked that one. Sarah's chickening out, not picking.
I'm a
anything.
chicken. Yeah, I'm not gonna go
All
there.
right. What do you pick, Scott?
I'm picking the real one or the fake one?
The real one.
The real one is the Berkeley one.
No, I say the real one is the other one.
Okay. Jeff, do without further ado.
The real headline was 4 ways to be gender inclusive when discussing abortion, courtesy of Everyday Feminism, where you can go whenever you want to read ridiculous stories and headlines.
Wow.
That's good to know. I'm gonna bookmark that. Just
It's a great blog. I love it.
for reference.
It's hilarious.
If
And it's not satire.
if the word all was not in the first story, I definitely would have believed it.
If they didn't do so much damage to society, those feminists could actually be funny with their ideas.
Exactly.
All right, I'm going to push in here because we're running out of time. My headlines. Number one, AOC says Amazon workers are defecating in bags as union vote looms. Or number two, uncovered, Google found sharing personal user information with NSA, excuse me, not NSA. So let me
Okay,
repeat.
well, I don't even think AOC knows what the word defecating means, but another tricky.
Okay, so AOC says Amazon workers are defecating in bags as union vote looms, and uncovered, Google found sharing personal user information with NSA. Scott.
I think the first one is probably the genuine headline, and the second one is the fake, because the NSA just takes that stuff right from Google without, they just reach around the corner there and just grab it all.
And AOC doesn't know what defecating means.
Well, she didn't necessarily use that word though, right? That's not required. In other words, the headline writer could have transferred her use of the word poop
if it's
to
in quotes.
defecate for the purpose.
And so,
of the
Scott,
headline.
what word might they substitute for that?
All right,
Pooping.
Jeff,
It would be pooping.
I think the Google headline is the real one.
Oh, okay. Why?
Because I wouldn't put it past AOC to make that up. And by the way, if she did say that, she knows it's not true. But I don't think that even she would be crazy enough to think that people would buy that.
Okay, have we all weighed in?
I haven't. I'm going to go with the second one.
You're not going to go with doo-doo?
I'm going to go. No, I'm going to say that AOC had many objections to Amazon moving to her district, many of them, but their sanitary habits and defecating in bags was not among the objections. So I'm going to call that as fake.
Scott.
Here's one thing that you have to consider. They're doing this massive push to sell this union for this Amazon distribution facility in Alabama. And one of the biggest ways to get sympathy for the union people is to pretend that they're the only ones fighting for the rights to eliminate for the workers at the factory. That's sort of how they're selling it. So that's the push behind the poop story, I think.
All right, so let's do a roundup here. Jeff says it's Google. Sarah says it's Sarah.
I'm going to go with Google.
Scott.
Poop is real.
Poop is real.
Scott's going with AOC, and Tim.
Pushing the poop. He's pushing the poop.
Google's real, poop is fake.
All right, drum roll, please. AOC is real. Wow, really faked you guys out.
That's got to be a word of the day on one of her calendars, I swear.
That is really awesome. Okay, all right, we have just a few seconds left. Scott, please take us out.
Two headlines. One headline. Social media company announces apolitical support for free expression. Headline number two. White professor is suing New Jersey college for racial discrimination.
Oh, that's an easy one.
Why don't you give us something easy?
Yeah, I think that's easy too.
All right, let's go.
Got to be number two. Number two, the second one is real. The white guy suing. The other one.
Tim has inside knowledge on this. I have to just, I hate to narc him out, but
that's right. We covered it on the radio show.
Dude, you can't cheat. Sorry.
All right. Yours doesn't count. Jeff, what do you got?
I could be throwing you off though. Remember, you don't know which of those stories we covered on the radio show.
I was going to go with the white professor anyway. I mean, because just with the way things are right now, I wouldn't be surprised if they did discriminate against him. And I also wouldn't be surprised if they didn't, because we live in a litigious society. But I mean, if we're being honest, universities, they're very much woke, which means that a lot of them are anti-white. So I believe it.
I think this is a no-brainer.
White. white cat out of the bag.
Yeah, white cat out of the bag. Okay, Scott?
Indeed, white professor is suing New Jersey College for racial discrimination. And fun factoid, I hold 3 credit hours from that institution that I earned in AP class in high school.
There's got to be some kind of conflict of interest in that.
All right, okay.
God, would you
panel.
look? Oh, wait a minute.
Okay, panel and audience members, could you tell April fact from April Fool fiction? Unfortunately, it's harder and harder every day. Feel free to post your headlines at the comment section of your preferred viewing platform. The trial of Derek Chauvin, the Minneapolis policeman charged with the murder of George Floyd, has gripped the nation, much like the OJ trial all those years ago did. Americans are glued to their TVs and ready to play armchair jurors and attorneys. It's amazing how much the facts of this case haven't made it into the general conversation. Some folks say it's out and out murder. Others cite that Floyd's health conditions and criminal actions are what got him in the end. Let's find out what our expert panel has to say. Well, Liberty Nation actually has a true legal savant who has been covering the trial minute by minute. Legal Affairs editor Scott D. Cosenza. Scott, can you bring us up to speed with a few of the interesting twists and turns in the trial thus far?
Well, I think that the big evidence is yet to come, Lisa. We're still in the first week of trial, and basically what we had is a deluge of video presentation from both spectators and police. And I think the thing that has struck me the most, as somebody who's watched really every minute of the trial broadcast that I have access to, so I really, I've tried to cover the entirety of what's out there, like a juror would see. When the first video was played, the reaction is like just devastation. It's beyond a horror to watch. It stays with you. I thought about it late that night. But when they're piled on, video after video after video, with Mr. Floyd's protestations that we know are false, meaning when he was first pulled over, he was complaining that he couldn't breathe then and yelling for his mama and asked not to be murdered. Now, when he's down on the ground with those police officers piled on top of him, slowly descending into unconsciousness, that looks beyond horrific. But when you see it played out in another fashion prior to that instance, right, he's just about getting out of being arrested for the possession of drugs, for instance. It plays differently. So as this continues to go on, I think it's going to be interesting in sort of how that plays in the minds of jurors. And that's something I haven't seen talked about much.
All right, Sarah, what do you make of the goings on thus far?
It's so early, and I think we've seen so many videos. What I want to know, and maybe this is a good thing for also our viewers, is what is the jury composed of? Who are these people? I mean, what's the makeup of the jury, and are they sequestered? Are they allowed to?
Okay, you haven't been reading Scott's story. Scott, tell her the makeup of the jury.
Well, to the last question first, they are not sequestered. The judge has said that he will sequester the jury when it comes time for deliberations, which we would expect in like 3 weeks. But also they have the option to sequester the jury prior to that if, situation presents itself that changes somehow his decision making in that regard. And that's up to the judge himself. Right now, according to the Minneapolis Star-Tribune reporting on what the court has released to them, there are 4 black people, 2 multiracial people, and 8 white people on the jury, 5 men and 9 women.
Well, I mean, do you think that makeup is a fair, maybe, assessment of a jury pool for this particular crime?
Certainly not if we go along racial lines, which it seems like those, in the body politic want to go along. If we do that based on race and sex lines, then Mr. Chauvin is not getting a fair trial. It's way outsized, represented by people who aren't his racial makeup, which is to say people who aren't white and people who aren't his sex.
So wait, is it indicative of the community?
That's what I'm saying. No, it's not. No, if it were indicative of the community, there would be fewer black people on the jury and fewer women on the jury. There would be more men and more white people. So the idea that, I just say that, that's sort of halfway tongue in cheek, but that's how they would be talking about it if it were a black defendant, right? And there was a little more outsized on the jury as it is. So there will be no complaint that's rational or based in the facts from anybody based on that it was outsized to kind of go against Mr. Floyd or to favor Chauvin with over white representation, for instance. Right now, it's over minority representation on the jury based on the population of Minneapolis.
All right, Jeff, what's your take?
Well, yeah, and I agree that, I mean, if you're looking at it from like a hard left point of view, they would figure that, you can't make a rational decision that's not based on your race. But we know that that's not true. Either way it goes, regardless of who the defendant is and who the victim is. But what's interesting here is the charges that he's facing, and the fact that, people are wondering, did they overcharge him? And I kind of think they did. I'm not a lawyer, but I know that Keith Ellison, put some extra charges on there that probably aren't going to stick. And this is going to be cynical Jeff coming out right now. And I think that Keith Ellison, along with other people on the left, they're going to use this to push their agenda. Either way this goes, if he doesn't get convicted of anything, they can use that to claim racism. If he gets convicted of a lesser charge, but not of the higher charges, they can still push their racial agenda. They can still push for riots. I mean, we saw Keith Ellison holding a book with Antifa on it, so we know he has no problem with riots.
It's a perfect scheme. There's no result that doesn't accrue to their benefit. It's
exactly
just more evidence that the system's even more racist than we thought. If he doesn't,
and it is absolutely brilliant. It's insidious, it's evil, but it's brilliant. And I really hope that this doesn't work out the way they want it to, because I think the way they want it to work out is another summer like what we had last year.
Can you sum up all the charges, because there was some last minute stuff
Well,
there.
the fighting was about a third-degree murder and whether that could be added or not added to the basket of charges. I won't get into the kind of inside baseball arguments about that because I don't think we have time. But he's charged with second-degree murder, second-degree manslaughter, and third-degree murder. And the reason why that could be a complicated. I suggest that people go to libertynation.com, Lisa, and check out some of my pieces where I have the time to really go in depth as to why that could accrue to the defense's benefit if he's only convicted of that third-degree murder charge. It's kind of a novel application of third-degree murder. Usually that's used for DUI cases, not where somebody's intentionally acting against one other person. And it is based on shenanigans by Mr. Ellis.
One sec, stop. Can you just give us the skinny on third-degree murder? I don't think everybody knows exactly what third-degree murder is.
Well, so third-degree murder happens when typically you kill somebody without intending to kill that person, but you do something that is so reckless that we would all agree that it's unacceptable risk of death. So, for instance, there's a passenger train coming down the tracks, and you have a rifle, and you're 500 yards away, and you just aim at the train and shoot at it, and you kill somebody inside the train. Well, you didn't even know that person was alive to begin with. How could you have intended to kill that particular person? You didn't, but you acted in a way that resulted in their death in a manner that was so, it's called depraved heart murder is another way that it's called. And so, for instance, drunken driving, same thing. You get blasted, blind drunk and drive down the road. Well, you crash into a car and kill 7 people. You had no idea they even existed again, much less were on the road. You didn't intend to kill them, but your actions caused their death in a depraved heart way. So that's why it seems like it's wonky to apply that to this case where they're alleging that Derek Chauvin put his knee on George Floyd's neck, not just some general activity that produced an outsized risk to a generalized population that Mr. Floyd happened to fall into. That's why it's a novel application. So they want to charge him with that because one court in Minneapolis applied a third-degree murder case to a sort of specific person, like Mr. Floyd in this instance. And they wanted to add the charge, Lisa, I believe because it presents a compromise verdict for the jury. In this case,
right.
Yeah, in this case, there's so much pressure to convict. That's something that often prosecutors will try to do to their benefit, meaning if you add a compromise verdict, then maybe you get the person who's like, well, I don't really think he's guilty, but at least this isn't the second-degree murder with 40 years. We'll go with third degree and we can actually go home and, have a summer rather than watch the cities burn. And that's exactly why the Chauvin people fought so hard against it, was because it offers a compromise verdict. And from their perspective, it should be, did he murder the guy or not? Not, yeah, but also, and let's put him away anyway for some lesser crime.
It's doubtful that Chauvin will walk in this case, in my opinion, if for nothing else than his lack of humanity toward Floyd. As to whether he should have the book thrown at him, well, that's for the jury to decide, and I don't think it's going to be an easy task. I'm certainly glad I'm not on that jury. Thank you very much, panel. That's it for our Conservative 5 panel today. Check out our other C5 shows and segments on your favorite video platform, YouTube, Vimeo, Rumble. We're on them all. As well, Liberty Nation has its own Roku channel where you can see all our TV productions. Thanks so much for tuning in. And remember to surf on over to libertynation.com. Sign up for our new member zone, just $29.99 a year. This has been a production of libertynation.com, conservative news, where truth matters.